And now, your official TigerBait postgame show with Mike Scarborough and Preston Guy starts now.
All right, welcome in, LSU fans. Tigers take care of business tonight. Get a little bit of a later start than we would have liked to tonight, despite the fact there was absolutely no traffic. Garrett Nussmeier was very late for his interview, and I was not leaving there without that one. And so we have, of course, his interview and BK's presser both up on our YouTube channel. Check that out later if you haven't. And as always, do us a favor. If you're enjoying this post-game show, hit that like button, and also please share it to your Facebook and anywhere else social media-wise. But here we go. Bottom line, LSU took care of business against a lesser opponent in South Alabama. I was very impressed with how LSU looked defensively tonight. Like if you heard any of our shows last week, I just knew South Alabama was going to score some points, and LSU had their number. They had a great game plan for them. The defensive front, the linebackers, minus Harold Perkins. Like BK said in the postgame, they still got some things that they desperately want to clean up on the back end of the defense with the safeties. Garrett Nussmeier, he had 2 picks, but what more can you ask for out of him and his performance? Caden Durham is your number 1 running back. Shot out of a cannon to start the game. 2 huge plays. LSU jumps out to a big lead, and, would have liked for them to maybe piled on a few more points and gotten to see Ricky Collins get some, maybe a whole quarter of play and really get to run the team. But that did not materialize. But there was a lot of good plays, much more than negative plays. And look, I don't know if you look at this and between the way LSU performed against South Al and then trying to extrapolate that to what you saw in the SEC play around the conference all day today, which was a fantastic football day. If you're all of a sudden trying to recalibrate and thinking if you were 8-4 3 days ago, are you now going back to 10-2 for LSU? I'm not there yet, but I do think that there was some things to be excited about heading into an open date with Ole Miss coming to town. They still have South Carolina to play. They're certainly licking their wounds after Kentucky came in there. And congrats to Kentucky and Stroubes. He's got the 2 biggest wins in Kentucky football history. I think their fan base is excited to have that one. And like I tweeted out earlier, like Trev Albert said 21 years ago, Ole Miss once a runt, always a runt. And his quote is still hanging true 21 years into this thing. But Preston Guy, give us your thoughts on this one.
I'm not going to waste too much time dissecting, the singular plays of this game or anything of that nature, because ultimately you were playing against South Alabama tonight. But here's the context I'm going to put with some proper framing. Sometimes playing football, you're playing against yourself, right? When LSU struggled to run the ball against Nicholls State, it wasn't because Nicholls State had just this imposing front 7. It's because LSU didn't create holes. Okay. And using that bar to gauge yourself, to grade yourself against Nicholls State versus South Alabama, it was substantial improvement, especially in the running game in particular. And I keep on telling folks, this team has the pieces on offense. They just need a consistent running game. And that's pretty much what we saw tonight. So it's improvement. There's no doubt. Whether or not it's good enough against elite competition, well, we're going to find out in 14 days when Ole Miss comes to town. That's going to be everything you're wanting and more, I promise you. But, ultimately, they're looking better. I think Caden Durham is a massive piece of the puzzle to get this offense rolling where it needs to go to be successful this season. But overall, by far the best holes that this offensive line is given of the night. If you take away that 86-yard run, I like to take out outliers when we look at it, because it really does help you analyze the performance of your team if you take out the outliers. In the first half, you ran the ball for more than 8 yards a carry. outside of the 86-yard run. In the game, you ran for 5.8 yards per carry. And of course, we know in the second half, it was more so just kind of a roll the clock out type running game. So, yeah, I think there's some good positives you can take out of this game. I'm not ready to sit here and declare LSU a playoff team, but I'm willing to say that
this
they
is
improved.
what you're supposed to do against a team like South Alabama,
Sure.
which you look at who they played, their scores, the caliber of the opponents relative to them. They are a good football team. I'll be curious to see where they finish out the rest of the way. But look, you look at the rest of this SEC, and I mean, seriously, Preston. I mean, there's some teams obviously with lesser records right now than Alabama and others. But is there a bad team in the SEC?
Bad team? I mean, even Vanderbilt has a pulse, man.
Right.
That's what I've been telling people. There's not a single free win on LSU schedule. Even South Alabama today was a team. You saw how tricky that offense was. I believe they were a top 10 offense, albeit against lesser competition. Still, it doesn't matter. It's a top 10 offense. And you could see where if LSU didn't have the Jimmies and Joes, I'll make a prediction. If this team played last year's LSU defense, they would have hung quite a bit of yardage and points on LSU. But to Blake Baker's credit, South Alabama looked overmatched, as they should. So credit to the defense and that improvement we've seen. By the way, you see this comment we got from Zach Nagy?
Yeah, I saw it.
Night Owls over here, I see. How funny. Hey, Zach, hit me up, bro. Let me get you a code. We'll get you on this post.
Zach,
show.
Do you want us to send you the invite so you can?
Yeah. I'm gonna text him the link. I'm gonna text him the link and see if he hops on.
If you want to pop in, but and we'll pull you up. But real quick, let me talk about Kenny Haines. Let me we pay a bill real quick, and of course, Kenny's been with us from the beginning. So here we go.
Kenny Haines is a proud 1989 graduate of LSU Law School with a passion for justice. Kenny stands out as the only lawyer in the state, board certified in both appellate practice and family law. Drawing from 34 years of trial experience, Kenny has navigated the most complex aspects of real people's lives. If you need help in Northwest Louisiana with a family issue, legal issue, or a highly skilled trial attorney, call Kenny 318-222-2100.
And of course, Kenny is the official lawyer of TigerBait.com, and he reserves the right to think most clearly for a paying client. And if you need any legal services in North Louisiana, give him a call. He's absolutely the best that you can get up in North Louisiana. All right, let's dive in. Hal Jubin, what's up, Mike? Hal's with us just about every show, and a great supporter of TigerBait. Always glad to have him with us. Weeks shine, yeah, he did. And D. Scott Riggs, I think obviously Harold Perkins is a difference maker, an excellent athlete, but I wonder now that you're not always trying to find a way to get him involved, and because you're trying to get him involved, you're having to move the other guys around and make concessions for the other linebackers in your room. Now that you're not having to do that, and I'm not suggesting that you're a better team without Harold Perkins, but I wonder if maybe this group might play a little bit better when they're focusing on a lot less, because they're dialed into the position the rest of the way, and you're not always trying to find different ways to get Harold Perkins involved and making other linebackers have to play multiple positions and in different alignments. So
it's an interesting discussion. There's no doubt about it. You know who your two leading tacklers were tonight?
I'm gonna go with Weeks and Burns.
How about Greg Penn and Whit Weeks? So
okay,
they moved to that 4-2-5 star defense, and the two linebackers shine. I'm just saying. I do think we're going to see a lot less 4-3 without Harold Perkins in the picture. I think to show that they still have more confidence in their defensive line at this point than we would have originally guessed.
Carmen out, finally a fun game to watch. The weather was beautiful. But man, that stadium sure did clear out at halftime. Midway through the third quarter, I'm telling you, eighth of the stadium was still there. I'm surprised that Ole Miss was upset by Kentucky. Man, Stroubes is just he chugs along, and they're a dangerous team every time you play them. They gave Georgia all they wanted. Man, he's a really good one. All right, look who popped in. Let's talk to Zach. I'm gonna bring him up.
He actually pulled up in here. Zach, what's up, bro?
What's up, Zach?
Man of my word, I said I'd pull up.
What'd you think, Zach?
Yeah, look, I think for me the glaring takeaway was just kind of like what Preston was saying a couple minutes ago. Look, Caden Durham looked fantastic, but at the end of the day, the offensive line kind of pieced together one of their better performances of the year as well. So, look, I liked what I was seeing from the offensive line, really giving Caden Durham the opportunity to kind of run it up the gut. The interior offensive line has struggled all year, and then you kind of give Caden an opportunity to run it up the gut, succeed, bust open an 86-yard run. Where, look, for me, if Kyron Lacey actually makes that block, he's in the end zone for an 87-yard touchdown. So, look, I was impressed with the offense as a whole. For me, it was fantastic watching Garrett Nussmeier kind of lead the team. Look, I know those 2 picks are going to kind of bring a lot of people to question his decision-making and this and that, and I get that. But, look, this is the Garrett Nussmeier experience. Like, we know there's going to be picks involved, so don't be surprised now. Like, we knew this was going to happen. So, despite it happening against an inferior opponent, it was going to happen no matter what, and it did this time. And then kind of looking at the other side of the ball, for me, look, Weeks looked fantastic. And, of course, there's going to be some – look, you take the good with the bad. There's going to be some problems as well in the run gaps and stuff like that. But I think he did a solid game, and he ended it with, 9 total tackles, a tackle for loss, a pass breakup. I mean, he looked fantastic, and he kind of stepped into the fold when you needed him most with Harold Perkins out. So, look, all in all, I was very, very impressed, despite it being a Sun Belt opponent, an inferior foe, kind of coming out and handling business. It was a solid night to see them do that.
Well, I mean, Fluff Bothwell averaged 1.7 yards a carry.
And on the year, he's averaging 9.3. Exactly.
Yeah. Yeah. Meanwhile, LSU rushed for almost 9 yards a carry tonight. So that was very, very impressive. By the way, you mentioned Garrett Nussmeier. Post-game interviews over 8 minutes on our YouTube channel, and he was asked a good bit about his younger brother Colton, class of 2027 quarterback, getting an offer, and there's some really good stuff in there. And Joe Sloan's extended offers to 4 2027 quarterbacks, and it's going to be real interesting to see how that plays out and who commits and who goes where, and who, how that all goes down. I have a hard time believing that at some point there's not at least 2 quarterbacks for a period of time that are committed to LSU for 2027. Do they both end up signing? I don't know, but I can see that happening.
Mike, could you see one of those guys possibly reclassifying? Because 4,
I don't want to go there.
That's a cluster, man. And I know this for a fact. Colton Nussmeier and Elijah Haven, those are 2 guys that are superbly talented, and you've got a really good in on both of those guys, with Elijah Haven being a Baton Rouge quarterback here for Dunham High School.
Look,
and then Colton Nussmeier. I mean,
dude, and the Ziegler kid who doesn't have an offer yet is damn good.
Yeah.
I mean, it's crazy. There's 3 fantastic quarterbacks and possibly more in Louisiana for 2027. So
I think Peyton Houston's a guy too. I mean, that's obviously a guy who got an offer. One of the 4 guys, obviously a little bit undersized, but today he's a dude. So Joe Sloan put in some work. We'll see if 1 or 2 more go out before the weekend ends, but he's certainly getting in on that 2027 class right now. For me, I wouldn't really expect a 2026 guy to want to come to LSU right now, just because Underwood, et cetera. But if you got to take a portal guy to kind of ease the depth in the quarterback room, that's fine. But that 2027 class, that's going to start booming. I'm excited to see what they end up doing there.
Well, here's the thing.
I think too.
What changes everything, and we've had this debate, and we don't know what Doug Nussmeier, Garrett's dad, would say. And I tend to think, regardless of whatever LSU's 1-loss record is at the end of the year, I think Garrett's going to put up fantastic numbers almost every week, even against good opponents, excellent opponents. I think he's going to have a fantastic junior year. And so, he's going to have to – there's going to be some thought discussion about him going out. I don't know if he will, but you have to look at who's in the draft next spring and who do they project in the draft if he comes back another year. Is it more conducive for him to come out maybe early, or is it better for him to wait? And we're not going to know that till the end of the year. But when I'll tell you what, when you start looking at who Mel Kiper's draft board and you start looking at each of the quarterbacks, and I'm telling you what, the ones that everybody talk about being the top national quarterbacks, I can say without a fact I would take Garrett Nussmeier over 2 or 3 of them right now.
Carson Beck?
Well, let me ask you this.
Yes.
Sorry to cut you.
Yes.
Sorry, Preston. Let me ask you this, though, Mike. Hypothetically, if he gets a late second-round grade, do you think this is the type of thing where, yes, his grade might be a little bit low, but at the end of the day, you never know what can happen. Like a guy like Bo Nix slid up into kind of like that top 10, top 15 range. Do you think even if Nussmeier is a late second-round grade, do you still think he goes?
I don't know if he would then. I bet his dad would tell him not to, but I could be wrong.
How many second-round quarterbacks pass up the NFL? I don't think it happens very often. I think if you're a top 3-round guy, you're pretty much gone. Now, I do understand that Doug, the father, he values the 5th year in college quite a bit. He puts a lot of emphasis on it.
You said that, but where's that coming from?
Well, remember they made him sit out the bowl game in 2021 as a
but how do you extrapolate that into him in this situation?
I'd have to check. It was some sort of quote out there that they really value the red shirt and want to play 5 years. And that's why they really, even though he had a chance to start as a true freshman in a bowl game, they opted not to, which I thought was if you're not going to play that 5th year, that turns out to be a wild decision, doesn't it?
He didn't have a crystal ball then to see how it's playing out right now.
Sure.
But I say, but from LSU standpoint, boy, you want him to come back. You don't want to. You don't want to go into 2025 and you're talking about a sophomore and a freshman and a redshirt freshman being your quarterbacks.
Absolutely. So, you want Nussmeier to have a year to be the guy above Bryce Underwood. You want Bryce Underwood to come in and learn, maybe have some packages, ease him into it. You don't want to have to turn to a true freshman, no matter how talented he is.
Nuss needs to calm down. Sometimes he can be reckless. Zach, were you there when Nussmeier was talking about, when he was asked about what BK was saying to him in that animated clip that's gone viral?
Yeah,
I liked his answer.
He's going to give you kind of like that player answer that you want to hear, I guess. But damn well he was getting chewed out so bad he didn't want to say anything. We all saw that clip. Like, we saw what BK was saying to him. So rightfully so. I'm glad BK kind of lit into him to let him.
No, but I like Garrett's answer to that question, and it also pretty much tells you he's the son of a coach and a former quarterback that had a cup of coffee in the NFL as well. All right, let's see. Of course, that's how.
Well, look, guys, I was just popping in to come and say hi. I was just
man.
Hit it, bro. Thanks for popping in.
All right, bud. Good night. Good night's sleep.
Good night. I'm going to tune into the rest of it.
All right, man.
That was
there.
Awesome.
He goes.
I still can't
believe
like Zach popping in
like that. All right. Let's see real quick. All right, everybody. Of course, we're brought to you each and every live show brought to you by Stroubes. And go check out 107 3rd Street, downtown Baton Rouge. Stroubes prides itself on providing a 5-star dining experience for a reasonable price, locally owned with ownership right there in the building, taking a high level of pride in the food and service that you just don't get from national chains or any corporate establishment. They feature a full menu of specialty meats, including USDA prime black Angus and 100% certified Wagyu New York strip. And for those looking for something outside of red meat, they offer items such as a dry-aged pork chop, black truffle lobster pasta, red chip, and plenty more, and a dessert menu to die for. Book your reservation online tonight at Stroubes.com, or just go to Stroubes.com and check out their menus. Believe me, there's a lot there that we don't mention each show. And believe me, it's the prices are very fair. And if you go, let them know TigerBait sent you in. And that cowboy ribeye, I wouldn't mind hitting that tomorrow. But All right, let's see. All right, let's get some more comments in. You see anything you want to bring up?
Hold up. We were talking about the interception for Nussmeier. I always think it's a little funny when we have our little like press box banters, right? We were talking right before he threw the pick about how few picks he's thrown this year and how I think I predicted either 6 or 8 interceptions for the year.
I jinxed him tonight.
I was like, oh man, I'm looking good. In fact, I undershot it. I should have said 4 for the year. And then Mike's like, yeah, well, my dozen picks aren't looking good. And then I'm telling you guys.
No, I started the conversation by saying my dozen interception prediction for Nussmeier isn't looking looking right now.
Yeah.
And you said you were at either 6 or 8. And then next play, he throws his first interception. And then he had a second one later in the game, which now gives him 4 for the season.
4.
So
almost halfway through the season.
And by the way, in one of the 4, I don't really count. He's actually got 3, but bottom line is he's got 4.
I don't count a USC Hail Mary interception.
I tend to think he'll probably get close to double digits. I don't know that he'll get to 12, but again, I really liked his answer to that question. He takes to coaching and he said, man, if someone's not ripping on me after that, then it wouldn't have been right that he needed to hear from a coach because they expect more out of him than he's certainly capable of delivering better play than that. But what a season he's having so far. I mean, when we talked about what were the expectations for him this season, I think he's surpassed it so far. But it's also, again, another case where you're getting stellar quarterback play. And other than tonight, the defense is not kept up. But that defense tonight has a lot to be proud of. And BK nailed it in the post game. If they just get the back end with the safeties right, I think they can and push. You got to stay healthy. Yeah, you can't have any more injuries. Carvis, Durr, Weeks, and Greg Penner, better linebacker. Perkins, a better player. His absence allows everyone to sit up. Exactly. Natural. That's what I was saying earlier, Carvis. I did not see him get in. Xavier Atkins, no.
Which surprised me, by the way. I'll double check.
I think they'd like to keep the shirt on him, but they've certainly getting him ready. Tiger Mark, we need to play 60 minutes of football every game. We kind of look like we took our foot off the gas. Y'all agree?
I mean,
maybe a little complacent, but maybe not as complacent as Alabama with their big lead, and Georgia almost pulled it out.
Aren't you supposed to kind of take the foot off the gas though when you're up 35-3? Like start playing to preserve your team at a certain point. You know, Caden Durham got banged up in the first half. He was limping off. He actually went into the locker room earlier. By
the way, he's fine. I
do think he's fine, but at the same time, don't put him back out there. You're up 35-3. That's kind of the point. I think it's fair to say they played 60 minutes of football tonight. They played the second half the way you're supposed to, albeit 2 interceptions that were ugly. But I mean, they still made some plays. That goal line stop in the second half, outstanding play on the 1 yard line by this defense. I think it's fair to say they played 60 minutes of football.
Elmo Dome, Kelly said post game that with South Alabama open with 3 deep, open the running game, no discussion. Caden is the man. Yeah, I had a little fun with my Frank tweet earlier, but Andy Whitaker, I know my LSU wins the next 4 games prediction was bold, but it's very well alive.
When did you make that?
He made that on my show Wednesday night.
Oh, boy. I don't know. Alabama looked really good tonight in the first half.
Now, is he getting the same treatment as Les Miles winning with Saban's players?
I mean,
do they have those on Alabama talk shows? Do they say things like that?
They're not going to in the moment. You don't bring that stuff up until you start losing later on, and you need to explain why this guy was winning and now he's losing. It might happen, but you understand, you know, they do talent calculations on certain websites, and they calculated Alabama still has the most talent per the recruiting rankings of any team out there, which shocked me.
They are very talented.
But yeah, it's still an absurdly talented. And by the way, I guess the most talented player on their roster is the guy that DeBoer brought in, Ryan Williams, that 17-year-old kid. He's a freak.
I did see good blocking downfield, and I think BK also mentioned that in the post game.
Sure.
Yeah, there you go, Carl. Calling me out. Waiting for
Yep.
that 30 points. Yeah, I was talking about that in the back of the end zone, waiting to get in the locker room. I think a lot of media were like me, maybe not quite 30, but they thought that South Alabama was going to score more points than they did. Give credit to LSU's defense, and certainly
Sure.
LSU starting fast, and the crowd certainly helped as well. I think that helped things. But yeah, I expected. I really did think South Alabama would score at least 24.
I thought they'd score 30. I really did.
Yep.
I thought they would take advantage, make some big plays. So, hey, what a pleasant surprise, man! I'm all for it.
Cinema Wisdom, their defense shut down a top 10 offense. That's pretty good.
I don't care if it's inflated by weaker competition. It's still a hell of a statement.
Pegasus J, I saw Haven said he was waiting for an offer, and he got it the next day. Look, I think all those guys, and I know Elijah Haven especially. I mean, Joe Sloan and him probably talk twice a day, I bet. I mean, I'm just guessing, but they at least daily. I think Elijah knew all along what the timetable was and what Sloan was doing and how he was going to handle things. I would love to have been a fly on the wall, though, when Sloan and BK and Frank and everybody was talking about, man, how do I handle this? Because, I mean, it really is. I mean, when you got the young Nussmeier, who's I mean, I saw, in fact, I still got some video that I shot of him at the Friday Night Lights at LSU that I got to put together. I really liked the way he looks. And he was throwing a lot of balls right next to Underwood at that camp. And he's taller than Garrett. And I know, I mean, if you listen to that post game tonight of Nussmeier, he has a lot of strong things to say about his brother. And man, it's a family of quarterbacks. Carmen Allen, I think Nuss is the first quarterback with 2 running and throwing touchdowns and a half in LSU history. Am I wrong?
I don't know. I'd have to tweet one of these historian guys to check that.
Man,
I will say this.
Jaden Daniels had to have done that, huh?
It sounds like it. I mean, and Joe Burrow was also, well, I guess he only had 5 running touchdowns. Maybe against Ole Miss, Joe Burrow did it in 2018, because I do remember he had 2 rushing touchdowns. But yeah, no, I mean, it's an interesting thing. I'll say this. Nussmeier, and I really want to ask some old heads about this, and please adjust for the era. Is this the best first-year starter season that we've seen out of an LSU quarterback? I mean, you think about a lot of guys who ended up being good. Mettenberger had a rough first season. Joe Burrow wasn't this good in 2018. Jaden Daniels wasn't this good in 2022. You know, all those guys.
For old timers, you go back to Tommy Hodson's freshman year.
That's what I'm getting at. Yeah. Well, Tommy Hodson split time with the other guy, right?
Mickey Guidry, but
was it Mickey Guidry? I seem to remember.
It was Mickey Guidry.
Yeah, it was like a running quarterback who wasn't that great for some reason.
No, he was more than a running quarterback, but it was a 2-quarterback system that drove everybody crazy.
Yeah, right. Was Hodson better than Nussmeier his first year? I mean, I'm relying on you. I've seen the highlights, but I didn't watch it.
I'm the same age as Hodson, so it's all relative. It's when you look at these offenses today and you think about some of the quarterbacks in LSU's history and how they would have all feasted in these systems versus what they were doing before. Pro style offenses, I formation. Hodson would have flourished. There's a lot of guys that would have flourished. Rohan Davey, many more. Especially the guys that had some wheels. Bryce Boudreaux, Combat Sports Announcer, gives us the go to hell Ole Miss. Thank you for that super chat. Yeah, Herb Tyler would have been fantastic, and he course, came in for an injured Jamie Howard and had a great freshman year. And LSU went to a bowl game, Independence Bowl.
They were hype about that Independence Bowl that year too, man. I remember that.
Oh, yeah, because LSU had won many years without a bowl game.
Boy, the Shreveport was popping that year.
It was. I mean, it was like,
oh yeah.
I mean, people were buying Independence Bowl T-shirts like they were going, like it was, you know, a BCS.
How quickly time, you know, in retrospect, it's funny to think about how quickly the program would find itself in a vastly different position. Just was that 6 years later, they won a national championship.
Mm-hmm.
Sports.
Carmen Allen, Ole Miss has South Carolina next week. I think South Carolina is tougher than Kentucky. That's what I'm saying earlier, man. Where is the bad teams in the SEC? I mean, I feel for Arkansas and Coach Pittman. I mean, look at how they've lost some games. Look how close Arkansas is.
Auburn choked a big lead on Oklahoma tonight.
Yeah, it's almost like if you say who's the bad team or like who's the team that just can't seem to. Is it Auburn?
I guess.
I mean, of course, you know, you're still going to say Vanderbilt,
of course.
But I mean, look at what they. I mean, they played some nice games.
There's not a free win.
Nobody's rotten.
There's no free win in the SEC, and there's no free win on your schedule, LSU. So, I mean, I think at best you've got 90% chances to win against the teams on your schedule. So, better buckle up and continue improving. Did I just read a comment? Nuss is going to be a top 10 pick.
I mean, a lot of people are thinking like me, man, especially if he has strong outings. And I don't know where he's not. I mean, certainly it's going to be he's not going to have 600 yards of offense against some of these teams. Sure. Alabama coming to town, but I think he's going to have way above average games against everybody. And
I don't see a first rounder yet. I don't see it. I think he'll get there with another year. I don't see it yet. I still think he needs some improvement on his deep ball. His deep ball's been disappointing this year, and I think that every once in a while he makes some questionable decisions. I'm just not there yet. I think he's good. And look, a third-round quarterback, guys, that's nothing to scoff at. That's a big compliment. That means you're a top 10 quarterback in college football. But I just don't see first rounder yet. I just don't see it. Maybe I'm on. Hey, I don't really see it on Carson Beck either. Look at him. You know, and he's pretty much unanimously won.
Tiger Mark nails it. Even though both Texas and Oklahoma won, it looks like life in the SEC is going to be tough for them week in and week out. Mississippi State gave them a good game. Yeah, that bone and ribeye looking good as you know what right now. Yeah, he does. Andy Whitaker, I really like Zach. He has a good attitude. He's a good guy.
Hey, y'all can come check him out.
We enjoy having
Monday
him
night
on our shows.
Yeah, he'll be back Monday night with us. We'll do a full show.
Yep.
I love having him.
Quarterback always get pushed up in the draft. He is going first round. He has a lot of intangibles that GMs love.
Maybe the Eagles draft him.
So what we feeling about Ole Miss after what we saw today? I want to see how they play against South Carolina. Certainly LSU has an advantage with an open date. Get them at home. I mean, I guess we're going to find out tomorrow or yeah, we're going to know this week, won't we? What the kickoff time of that's going to be?
Yeah, it would be tomorrow, right? That's when the SEC announces their 2 week from now games. You better hope it's a night game.
It's going to be night.
I might be ABC. No way. Isn't that like the apocalypse of college football that day, October 12th? Isn't there just like a litany of ranked matchups? I think it's like going down. So it might not be game day, actually. Look, depends on how Ole Miss looks against South Carolina.
ABC has got to be loving this new deal with CBS out of the way. They had the game tonight, that Georgia-Alabama game. I guarantee the number that thing draw when in a day or two when they release the millions that tuned in for that one, and an automatic instant classic for ESPN, ABC.
Yeah.
That was everything that game was billed to be. And if anybody saw that game 30-7 or whatever it was early on and tuned out, boy, they missed it. I mean, we were waiting to get in the locker room, and there was a huge yell, and it was because that was when Georgia came back and took the lead. And while we're in the locker room during BK's press conference, the players in the locker room behind the wall, behind where BK stand at the podium, started screaming when Alabama took the lead back. And he started laughing. He goes, "They're in there watching Alabama, Georgia." And
that was the interception he freaked out at.
Yeah, I could tell he wanted to say something. Huh?
It was the game ender. It was the interception because I was watching it. Then he made his comment.
Yeah. He, I know he had a gleam and a little twinkle in his eye, like he was wanting to say something else, and he didn't get it out. Like I think maybe he thought better of what he was wanting to say, but that's where you want to be, though. You want LSU to be back in those games again. So, all right. Carvester, Atkins played a snap, I think. He might have. Yeah, Atkins played. He got reps at the end. Okay. I was down on the field, so 3 top 10 teams go down. No Lejeune. Yeah, Preston is back Monday night, 8 o'clock.
Yeah, we didn't do Monday night last week because of that LSU Heisman Bowl. I said, man, nobody's going to watch my show with Burrow and Daniels going off. Y'all want to see me next night. So we'll be back to normal time this week.
D. Scott Rick, Mississippi State is a seller this year, and they're not a putrid football team.
That's a good point. That's a good point. It's also a good point.
I mean, they're one loss record, but Chucky, Mike, I told you USA was not going to score 30. There you go. You were right. Andy Whitaker, do y'all think Mason Taylor will be back next year? I think it goes unnoticed how important he is to the offense.
I don't think so. I think
I'm a plead ignorance on that right now. I don't. Do you know what the tight end class looks like?
No, I don't.
Does that even matter?
I think that he's put out 3 years of film. I think he is a legit high round pick. And I don't necessarily know, tight end, it's like you're getting drafted on your talent level, right? Okay. If there's no first round tight end, the first round won't draft the tight end. Okay. It's not like these things where like, oh, we desperately need a tight end. We're going to stretch and pull one out. I think you either are good enough or you're not. And I don't know that. I mean, how does his stock increase from where he's at after 3 years as a starter?
That's always been my argument. It's like, okay, people used to say, well, man, how does Saban get all his juniors to come back for another year? Well, because he was always able to come back and play for a national championship.
Sure.
And he wasn't lying or saying something silly. They were legitimately playing for a national title every year. You look at LSU's outlook for next year. What do you think it is? You're losing what you're going to be losing, how the schedule's going to stack up.
Sure.
And so a guy like Mason Taylor's like, man, like you said, he's shown 3 years of film. He's been starting since his freshman year. He's probably done enough, and he's going to go pro.
Before the season, I would have said you're a little crazy because if you look at this defense before the season, it had like 8 senior starters. I mean, I think what I counted up was 17 seniors starting for this team. And correct me, because you're losing 4 out of 5 of your offensive line. Your receivers, you got a ton of seniors, but it's like a lot of the core nucleus of this team emerging are non-senior type guys who might come back. So we'll see. We'll see. A lot of these young players are starting to earn some reps.
Got a brand new attitude, like bing bang boom on a pink balloon, like I just do what I want to do, like ooh, brand new.
All right, everybody, you're looking for a luxury SUV. You've got to check out the Genesis. There's a reason why that vehicle and every vehicle in their portfolio is either number 1 or in the top 3 in every category. Whether it's mid-sized SUVs, the smaller, the compact, they're sedans, they're all top of the line. No interior in any luxury SUV can compare to them, and the bang for the buck is unmatchable. And so there's no better dealer. Big LSU fans, Genesis of Lafayette, give them a call, 877-856 2961. And they sell more Genesis at Genesis of Lafayette than any Genesis dealer in the state of Louisiana. And wherever you are in the state of Louisiana, give them a call. Beautiful showroom, and they'll deliver the car right to your driveway. It don't matter where you're at. Okay. Let's get some more in here. Carmen Allen, wife just asked me, are you coming to bed? I said, no, I got to get to talk to Mike and Preston. There you go. You can sleep in tomorrow.
Thank you for staying up late with us, Carmen.
Absolutely. Tiger Mark, Georgia versus Alabama was a class, but man, I missed the CBS announcers from last year doing commentary. So Tiger Mark, you're good. You like Danielson.
Here's the deal. Do you like the CBS broadcast, or do you have a bad case of nostalgia?
I'll tell you this much. If you take Danielson out of it, whether it's the graphic packages, the camera angles, the camera work, the opening show, the music, the theme music, it just the CBS game just feels bigger. Whereas now that you look at the ABC game on 2:30 on SEC on ABC, it doesn't have any of that magic. It's just another game. It's the same package, the same.
Yeah. Less pageantry, I think, is what you're getting at, right?
Yes, exactly. It doesn't have the same, just does not have the same gravitas or feel.
Yeah. And I think
I only missed the theme song. There you go.
Yeah, the theme song for ESPN is pretty brutal this year. I'll throw this out there as well. It's almost like with CBS, it's just something we're just so accustomed to. It's the change that we're getting to. And, ESPN and ABC, they broadcast 15,000 games a week. On CBS, you're the one. That's it. You're not looking. You're not watching the CBS general branding of broadcast for any other game. And I think that's what made it just kind of feel different.
I just it's probably better for the whole industry in broadcasting if NBC at some point would say, you know what, we're not just going to be Notre Dame. Let's get competitive. You thought maybe Fox when it came up that they would have bid on it. Because I like some of Fox's crew. I thought their pregame with Urban Meyer and all them was damn good. Joel Klatt and Reggie Bush and some of those guys. I think they do a good job. But at some point, somebody's going to step up and say, you know what, we're not going to let them have the monopoly. But these contracts now are locked in for many years. I don't know when that's ever going to happen. Michael Duyon, Arizona is about to beat Utah. Virginia Tech didn't get that short end of the stick by the refs. 4 of the top 10 teams would have lost this week.
By the way, I'll say this. Virginia Tech also shot themselves in the foot. It wasn't just the refs, okay? Virginia Tech had a chance to put that game away up 17 points late in the third quarter. They couldn't take advantage of it. They threw it. They had a turnover.
Andy Whitaker, I like Herbie and Fowler. They have have the big game feel. The 2:30 slot feels like a CW network game. And Scott Riggs scratching a chalkboard is better than Danielson. Chucky, I bet you that could pass.
I think 0%. Nope.
I think it's got a high chance.
Why
Very
is that?
high. Because of who's the governor, who would sign it, and the makeup of the House and the Senate in Louisiana. Now, who's going to write the legislation?
He'll probably veto it until LSU promises to stand out for the anthem.
Yeah, there you go. No, that would have no chance to pass a federal, but a state of Louisiana that has a high chance.
Well, I do know the law exists in Arizona, and I don't think that Arizona, I mean, it's hot. It's the desert. It's dry, which is a big factor, no doubt. But I don't know that Arizona, in terms of
I wonder
average temperature,
though,
is that much hotter.
I wonder if Sankey would step in and advise the state powers that be not to do such a thing, and because what it might do to their contracts and what they've agreed to. It might, could put LSU, put the league in a bad spot. But I wouldn't be against it.
We'll see.
But then what do you do if every state in the South does something similar?
I guess you got a bunch of night games. You're going to have to play more day games up north.
Yeah, and then ESPN, ABC says, guess what? We're going to have to renegotiate this because we can't show all of your games at night. We're not going to draw big numbers if all your games are on at the same time. Carmen Allen, your thoughts? Seriously, with the freshmen playing and the classes coming up, I think we are too. I do say LSU's 2 years away from being a championship caliber team. I think 2026 is the year. But man, you never know, man. Sometimes you can be early.
Yeah.
I look at next year's schedule or what I think it's going to be, and I'm like, man. But you never know, man. You things happen. You catch lightning in a bottle, and you have some new players that step up. Things go your way. But I tend to think
it's hard to project where you're going to be in 2 years. Really is.
Yeah.
I mean, look at your national championship seasons and where you were 2 years before them. I mean, in 2010, the word on the street was Les Miles was going to get fired that year. Well, the next year they go to the Natty.
I mean, it was no. It worked like clockwork for the first part of this century. It was pretty. You looked at the schedules. Even years were tougher than odd years. When did you win national championships? Odd years. When did you play for another one and Les Miles scrimmaged all week long and wore the team out? And you had to play Alabama a second time. It looked like you were too slow in the Superdome. Well, that was also an odd year.
Yeah. Here's the thing, though. I think that I know a lot of people wanted this to be the year that LSU is a contender on the national scale because it's that magical third year. And LSU has certainly been magical under the last three coaches. But that being said, it doesn't actually happen like that for the overwhelming majority of coaches. I mean, look at guys like Dabo Swinney. It took him 5 years before he busted on the national scene. I mean, sometimes it takes a little more time than you're expecting. And I know I'm not saying,
and I think Dabo really arrived thanks to a boost from Les Miles in a Peach Bowl.
Oh yeah, that 2012 one. Because the year before that they got 70 points.
Les Miles should have been fired that night.
Bold take, Mike.
I tell you what, I'm gonna tell you right now.
Golly,
I was telling somebody this the other day. Y'all can think I'm crazy, but usually over time you soften on coaches. People softened on Dale Brown after he ran the program in the ground. 20 years later, he gets his name on the court. Okay. As time goes by, I get more angrier at Les Miles. I don't soften on him. Yeah, Greg Sankey would strangle that no day games baby in the crib, would destroy contracts due to lack of flexibility. Can't happen in a conference with the relevance of the SEC of the big. Yeah, I'm with you, Captain Kenneth. Now, if Louisiana was the only one to do it, maybe you could get away with it, but we'll see. Dale Brown Court is the biggest joke ever. All right.
Yeah, I think they should have just waited one more flipping year. It's like the next year you finally have a coach that wins a national championship for LSU basketball.
Tiger Mark, what do you guys think about Will Campbell's play so far this year? By the way, I didn't see the penalty he had tonight. Did you see what that was?
I never saw it, but I did see it got called.
You guys that were at home and got to see the replay, can you explain what that was and what did he do? Certainly the false start penalties that he's had this season. But at the same time with all that, that doesn't make me discount him. He's an All-American and a first-round draft pick.
Yeah, I think he's been an elite pass blocker. I think his run blocking's had some suspect issues this year. His pulling has not been great, but overall, he's been a good player. And look, even if he's fell from a top 5 pick, he's still a first rounder, and it's not particularly like I think he's like a first half of the first rounder still.
All right. Capital City Grill. We're past midnight. This morning, I can tell you, I'm about 85% certain I'm going to be there for their brunch. And they've got one of the best brunches in Baton Rouge. You see that Egg Benedict on the screen, the greatest carrot cake in the world. Preston was there the other night. He can talk about it here in a minute. But we partner with locally owned business here at TigerBait, and we experience firsthand, and we can endorse the great service and food over at Capital City Grill. And fantastic Sunday brunch. So if you're an LSU fan in town, in a hotel, hit them on your way out of town. They service have brunch from 11 to 2. And I've been hitting it regularly. 100 Lafayette Street, downtown. Go to capitalcitygrill.net. You can pull up their menu. And they serve lunch until 3. So the brunch ends at 2. But if you want a French dip, a club sandwich, a cheeseburger, the whole deal, they've got it all. And sandwiches, burgers, seafood pastas, steaks, everything priced at $30 or below. And so go to capitalcitygrill.net. And if you head over there, please tell them TigerBait sent you in. And if you're full on your entree, I promise you, get the carrot cake to go. If you're full, get it to go. And heat it up in the microwave for a little while Monday morning and have it with your coffee.
Oh, man, I had that sucker just the other day. Oh, it was so good.
Preston sent me a picture of his. It was looked like it had about 6 pounds of cream cheese frosting on it.
I took my little boy out, and he couldn't stop eating it. I said, all right, look, boy, you're going to consume too much sugar. You're going to stay up too late. Oh, man, top of the line stuff.
Yeah, Colby Fudge. Hey, Mike, just tune in. Is your record prediction over the next 4 games stay the same after what you saw tonight? I still don't know how I feel. Colby, that's kind of how to open the show, man. It's like LSU did what they needed to do tonight. It was probably their most complete performance. I think it was. It is their most complete performance of the year against a lesser opponent. A South Alabama team with a fantastic offense that the LSU's defense had the answer for. They game planned for it well. Still some things they need to fix there. Offensively, LSU did everything. But does that mean I'm automatically recalibrating my thoughts of 8-4 and jacking it back up to 10-2 after tonight? I'm not. But you look at the way Ole Miss looked today. They still have to play South Carolina when LSU's off. LSU's going to get them at home. You never know what's going to happen. I tend to think like we typically see against LSU's opponents in these games. They always give LSU their best game. Their quarterbacks have one of their best games, and comparing games and thinking what you saw from Ole Miss today is what you're going to get in Baton Rouge in 2 weeks. I just don't. I'm not going to do that. But man, these are all going to be some tough games. I mean, that's what we've talked about this whole show. I mean, we're the definite wins. I mean, I know Arkansas is struggling, but each week, I mean, they're in games that they could have won. I mean, they've got to be sick up in Fayetteville right now. They had that game with A&M today. I mean, how many games is Arkansas, Oklahoma State? They could have won that game. I mean, it's like every week for them. Well, you get to go to Fayetteville. They're not coming here.
They're going to be
that can be a tough game.
Hungry. I promise you, Arkansas is going to want to win that game. Probably more than LSU does. I mean, those boys, they take that rivalry very seriously, and they're going to be desperate for a win at that point. Probably fighting for their lives for a bowl game and Sam Pittman's job.
So that's what it was. Tiger Mark boneheaded 15-yard personal foul call after we made the first down. Totally unacceptable. Could cost us down the line. If I remember right, LSU got that, made it up on the next player or the 2 plays.
They got a
later.
touchdown on that drive for sure, but it seems like boneheaded. That's a word that could be applied to a lot of the penalties LSU's had this year.
Yeah. All right, Preston, anything you want to add before we get out of here? Of course, your live show Monday night, 8:00.
Yep.
It's an open date, so we don't get BK on Monday, but we got an email this just a little while ago. We're going to have BK Tuesday after practice at 5:30. Of course, he won't have his radio show next week. And so I think it's going to be a big week of recruiting coverage. We went and saw Harlan Berry last night, as well as the fantastic athlete from Cecilia. So I've got some great stuff coming your way on the recruiting front. And we're reaching out to the 4 quarterbacks. I know you touch base with Colton Nussmeier, and you'll have something on that as soon as possible. And so anything you want to add?
No, guys, just come check me out Monday evening. We'll be back at our regular time. Me and Zach Nagy. If y'all enjoyed the show tonight, guys, please drop us a like and subscribe to our channel. We continue to grow quite a bit, and we really appreciate all of your support.
Absolutely. Hit that like button. If you hadn't subscribe, notification bell, and head over to TigerBait.com. If you haven't subscribed to us, please subscribe. $1, you can try us out for a week. And I'm on the message boards day and night. We like to have you as a premium subscriber to TigerBait.com. Brian Lazar's analysis features up there. And I've got, we got a Harlan Berry interview as well, not just footage. And so we got a lot more coming your way on TigerBait.com. So, all right, everybody, good night or good morning. And if you head over to Capital City Grill for brunch tomorrow, I might be there. I'm gonna see if I can get up early and get over there. So that brunch starts at 11. All right, everybody, y'all have a good Sunday. Good night.